Hi, everyone. Today we're going to talk about some themes and concepts in biology. So let's get started. So, the first thing we're going to talk about are the big ideas in biology. And it's important to understand that or biologists always look for patterns across multiple forms of life. And that's because all living things share many common features. You can see in this diagram, these are embryos of sharks, lizards, chickens, pigs, and humans over time. And you can see some characteristics or features that are very similar across each organism. And these themes or patterns help scientists organize complex biological topics. So, what are the properties of life? Well, life has lots of order and structure. Life responds to stimuli or something that is causing a response from it. For instance, a plant will grow towards sunlight. Speaking of, life will grow and reproduce. Life regulates internal conditions such as homeostasis. For instance, we sweat to cool down when our bodies are heating up too fast. Life uses energy. For instance, plants get energy from sunlight, animals get energy from eating plants, and so on. And also, life evolves over time. Everything changes over time to adapt to the environment. So, what are the biological levels of organization? Scientists organize life into different systems or parts and subcomponents to make it more helpful for us to understand life or biology in general. So the smallest unit for life uh, in our biological levels of organization is called atoms. They're very tiny and they make up all of matter. And then those atoms can combine and form bigger structures called molecules. And these molecules can form organelles, which are the tiny parts of different cells. And then those organelles can combine to form cells. And those cells can become a bigger component to form tissues in organisms. Those tissues can become make up together make up organs. Together those organs can make up the body system. The body system, multiple body systems can make up an organism. Multiple organisms can make up a population. Many populations together can make up a community. Many communities can make up a ecosystem. And finally, many ecosystems can make up the biosphere, which is all of life on earth. And these are just some of the levels of organization. It's more complex. There's more components in between what I have listed here as well. So let's talk about the cell, which is the basic unit of life. All of life is made up of cells. We have many types. Unicellular cells. Uni means one. So unicellular cells are just one-celled organisms, such as bacteria. We also have multicellular, many-celled organisms, such as humans. And there are two types of cells. We have prokaryotic cells, which you can see has a cell wall and even a flagellum tail-like thing. And then we have eukaryotic cells, which have uh, cell membrane, mitochondria, cytoplasm, and so on. So let's talk about DNA and inheritance. Life stores genetic information in DNA, and that DNA is passed on from parent to offspring. And DNA guides growth, development, and reproduction, and it just passes on the genes from one generation to the next, passes on information about life from one generation to the next. And this is what a DNA helix looks like. So, for life, the design of or structure of an organism is fit to its function. For its shape and design match function. For example, when it comes to enzymes are a specific shape for it to perform the action that it needs to perform. Bird wings are a specific shape to help it to fly. Leaf structures are a specific shape for them to be able to absorb light and absorb water and so on. So it applies to all levels of life, from molecules to organs. Everything has a structure that relates to a function. So all life also needs energy to survive, and it normally starts from the sun, right? The sun normally provides the first line of energy, and it goes goes to plants or producers, and that's how the food chain begins. Other animals or consumers start to eat the producers, and the other consumers will eat the primary consumer, and just animals and plants and other organisms will consume each other to cycle the energy throughout life, throughout the world, or throughout all the organisms. So the energy doesn't get destroyed, it just gets transferred between different organisms. And this is how energy flows and matter cycles. So, organisms also maintain stable internal conditions. We call this homeostasis. So, an example would be body temperature. When we get really hot, we start to cool down by sweating. The sweat starts to, when we sweat, it evaporates and cools down our body, and we're back to balance. Or if we get too cold, our body starts to shiver, and then that shivering response makes our body a little warmer, and we're back to balance. This balancing loops that we go through are called homeostasis, and we go through something similar when it comes to balancing blood sugar levels. And life uses feedback mechanisms to balance itself. And all life shares common ancestry. So, all of these pictures of different organisms that you're seeing have a common ancestor, and they share many similar features, or have shared many similar features in the past as well. And these species change over time. And this explains the unity of all organisms, that all organisms came from a single ancestor, as well as the diversity of life, because from that common single ancestor, so many different types of life came about and branched out. And the process of different lives, or the diversification of life, comes or is driven by natural selection. The animals or organisms that are able to with the environment, or that are most adapted to the environment, normally survive, and our environment changes or evolves over time as well. So let's talk about the tree of life. A tree of life is a tree diagram, and it shows us the evolutionary relationships between different organisms. How are they related, and how have they been related in the past? So we have three domains. One is the bacterial domain. One is the archaea, and one is the eukarya domain. And these are just three parts of three sections that we divide our organisms in our tree diagram. You see animals are in the eukaryotes, or in the eukarya domain, just like us, and normally bacteria are in the bacteria domain. And these phylogenetic trees are based on DNA and traits, and shows us the connection between different organisms and their past. So, in summary, all life shows shared traits in organization. Cells and DNA are the key to life, and they help transfer genetic information from parent to offspring, and so on. Energy flows and and matter cycles within the food chain, and transfers the energy between organisms to keep things alive. Evolution explains life's diversity as well as unity, how everything is connected, but everything is also so different, because animals have changed and adapted as our environment has changed. So, what's next? In the next video, we'll talk about atoms and molecules, what atoms are made of, how atoms form bonds, and why chemistry is the key to life. That's it. Thank you.